Thank you for joining our podcast, Behind the Burger. I'm here with Kate Schulz, our New Mexico Beef Council dietitian. So Kate, maybe introduce yourself and give us your background.
Sure. Thank you, Carol Ann. My name is Kate Schulz, and I am your dietitian. So I grew up on a farm and a ranch on the Nebraska-Wyoming state line that wonderfully and thankfully my family still owns and operates. My great-grandfather homesteaded 100 years ago last year. So just very honored that is still a part of our life and has really played a huge part in the role that I have here in New Mexico. I also married into a farming and ranching family in the San Luis Valley of Colorado. So just love to be able to make the connection between what I do as a dietitian and my background in agriculture.
That's awesome. We really appreciate that about you, that you have such a love and understanding of the industry while also having your expertise as a dietitian. So tell us about your role with the New Mexico Beef Council.
Sure. Yes. So as the dietitian for the New Mexico Beef Council, I really am involved in all aspects of nutrition. So whether that be working with fellow medical professionals, so doing outreach with dietetic interns, dietitians, nurse practitioners, physicians, really I think to dispel a lot of myths and misperceptions in regards to beef and how it can fit into really any type of eating pattern. And then also just to network and engage and help to, again, bridge that gap. So many people are so far removed from agriculture, even in states like New Mexico, that I love to be able to help to bridge that gap between agriculture and medical professionals.
That's awesome. I think that's really interesting, and we really appreciate the role you play in that. It's not really on the list, but we talk about dietetic interns and dietitians. Can you kind of give this the quick version of
Sure.
what it takes to become a dietitian?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, great question. So there's now a master's requirement for anybody who is coming into the field. It just came into effect. And so in order to become a registered dietitian, you have to now have a master's and then be accepted into an approved internship program. So some universities have a coordinated program where you can get your master's along with your dietetic internship, and some don't. But once you have your master's, you do your dietetic internship. It's anywhere from 9 months to 2 years, just depending on kind of the focus of it. Once you've completed that, then you have to sit for a national exam and pass that to become credentialed by CDR. And then depending on your state, so in New Mexico, dietitians also have to be licensed. So it is quite a process, and then there are continuing education requirements as well for dietitians in the state of New Mexico.
That's quite extensive, and we really appreciate you do that for us. And then you have the ability to also have interns, right?
Yes, yeah. So I have worked with interns in the past. I recognize that I wouldn't be where I am today if somebody didn't help me. So I love to be able to kind of pay that forward. And love, again, just the ability to engage with them. I feel like sometimes I learn from them as much as they learn from me. I have been a practicing dietitian for many years now, over 20. And so I definitely have seen the career fields change. When I completed my undergrad and then my internship, I was at Utah State for my internship and University of Wyoming for undergrad, both land-grant universities. So ag was a huge part of my curriculum, both undergrad and then for my internship. And that isn't always the case, especially for dietitians or dietetic interns these days. So any opportunity, again, to just expose them to agriculture, I feel like in order to be a really good dietitian, you have to have a good basic understanding of where your food comes from and all that goes into that. And even though I grew up in agriculture, my family's still involved, it's a part of our weekends and holidays, I don't live it on the daily, so I'm still constantly learning, from all of our producers, from my family, and love to be able to, really share that information with others.
I love that. I think that constant learning is something we all strive for, right? Or we all should. And then, so how is we kind of skipped over and went to the dietitian part, but maybe talk a little bit more about the history of your family or how your background in ranching prepares you for this role.
So I think it's one of those where when I grew up, my dad was always on the farm. My mom was a nurse practitioner. My aunt was a pharmacist. My other aunt was an occupational therapist. So I was really, really exposed to medicine and agriculture throughout my entire life. I don't know that I truly ever saw myself in this position, I think that's also something that's really cool, is the fact that there are so many opportunities for dietitians. I knew when I went to college I wanted to do something in healthcare. I originally was a pharmacy major, took a nutrition class, was like, oh, I really like this, right? Like, this is something that's applicable to people every single day. People eat every day, hopefully numerous times a day, and enjoy all of the food that they do eat. But then I had an opportunity really to work in every area of dietetics. So clinical setting, in dialysis, in a hospital, community, I worked for senior meal programs, WIC, and then this position, opened up, and it really hadn't been anything I had thought about. I really had never thought about being able to have my background in ag combined with my profession as a dietitian. And so again, just get very excited and quite passionate about being able to bring those two together, and to share the story. And also, I think, to be able to share just the differences in production practices from my family's operation to my husband's family's operation to producers that we see in New Mexico, right? And really be able to share with individuals just all of the science and the technology that's utilized, the things that my family maybe utilizes in Western Nebraska, Eastern Wyoming are different than Southern Colorado or different than New Mexico based on so many different factors. So I think just getting people to think outside the box a little bit and understand just how complicated and complex it is. And then building in, just again, dispelling all of the myths and misperceptions that individuals have in regards to where their information comes from diet and nutrition. We're inundated by information on a daily basis from the media, whether that be print or social, from your own, kind of experiences with food. And so there are a lot of challenges in being able to kind of bring that all together. But I think that's one of the most exciting facts about it as well.
So you kind of mentioned the myths and misperceptions. Well, let's go into that.
Sure.
What are some common myths?
So I kind of like to highlight those, especially with my audiences, really from a consumer standpoint, healthcare professional standpoint, and then to let the producers know as well, right? Like, this is what people are having questions about. Probably the first one, and the one that I really like to highlight, is the fact that, there's a myth or misperception that beef can't fit into any healthy eating pattern, or specifically a heart healthy eating pattern. We have so many wonderful Heart Check certified recipes from the American Heart Association that feature lean beef. And I think there's a real opportunity to focus on cuts of lean beef. When you're recommending people consume beef on the daily, weekly, looking for some of those leaner cuts, I think, is really important. And the medical professional audiences that I'm working with are not even familiar with the different cuts of lean beef, or that is really even an option. Looking for round or loin in the cut name, and then providing for them the definition of what lean is. And then again, pairing that with your fruits and vegetables, your whole grains. It really is kind of some basic nutrition principles that I think sometimes get forgotten about, just because we can get overwhelmed with so many outside factors. But yeah, I love to be able to showcase, just the importance of protein in a diet, how beef is just so naturally nourishing and sustaining, providing, 25 grams of protein and 3 ounces, and then all of the other 9 essential nutrients that are found naturally. You can get that naturally from beef without needing, oftentimes to supplement all of those other essential nutrients, making sure that your diet is well balanced, but love being able to highlight that.
Absolutely. I think we talk about it a lot, that beef is a part of a healthy diet, right? When we're talking about nutrition.
And we have nearly 20 research studies that showcase that, whether it's, beef in a heart healthy diet, beef coupled with exercise and the positive benefits from that, beef paired with, fruits and vegetables and the cardiometabolic benefits for that. So your heart health benefits. So again, just being educated on the many different cuts, and focusing when applicable on those leaner cuts.
Right. What's one thing you want your medical professional audience to leave with after working with them?
From a nutrition standpoint, just to understand, just how healthy and safe beef is, no matter, if you get it from a local producer or from the grocery store, there's so much care that goes into the animals. And I think that's the other thing. There's a lot of questions about sustainability, animal welfare, animal care. And so any opportunity I can to kind of bring those stories to my audiences, I think, are really powerful and pivotal. So I not only want to focus on the nutritional components, but then also the sustainability, animal welfare part as well. So I know we've been talking about doing some tours, and I think that that is, the ultimate way to be able to get consumers, medical professionals in front of producers to hear exactly why they do what they do. We all have tools in our toolbox for different things, and producers are no different. I also just love to be able to highlight all of the science and technology that is utilized by producers in every decision that they make. Coming from an evidence-based profession, that really tends to resonate with fellow medical professionals, right? They lean on research. They want things that are science and evidence-based. So being able to showcase for them not only the research that we have in regards to beef and beef nutrition, but also the research in every other area, from sustainability, from animal welfare. I also like to feature and highlight BQA and let them know that this is a program that is voluntary for producers in the state of New Mexico to participate in, to just make them better at caring for their animals.
Yeah, and BQA is our Beef Quality Assurance Program, where we talk about safe handling practices of cattle, and there's tons of information on our website and the Beef is What's for Dinner website about BQA, but it's a really great program that we're really proud of. What do you think is the most rewarding part of working in the beef industry?
I do love to represent the producers, for sure. So that is something that's just near and dear to my heart, to be able to tell their story. I know that my dad, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, my brother are working endlessly as all producers around the country. They're always great at telling their own story. So I feel like I have a voice to be able to tell their story for them. And I just love being able to do all the different things that we do. So even though, my primary purpose is really working with fellow medical professionals, I love the activation that we have with New Mexico Activities Association and the Sports Nutrition Game Plan. For those of you who may not have heard of that, it is a free sports nutrition program geared specifically for high school athletes. There really isn't another resource that's free that is out there of this caliber. So us being able to partner with NMAA to provide this resource for coaches, for parents, for athletic trainers, for athletic directors is just amazing. And I think we'll just kind of continue to see that grow and evolve. And so I do love, I oftentimes say that it's not that there's so many opportunities for us to engage, and oftentimes just not enough time to do everything. But I love a lot of the activations that we have in place with NMAA, the work that we do at New Mexico State University with our HRTM program, and then just all of the wonderful things, Carol Ann, that you have brought to the table since you started.
Thank you. We do love to do the most and with the fewest people, right? So, yeah. Which is great. We're trying to be
of resources.
Yeah, trying to be a great steward of the checkoff and state assessment dollars. So, what about you've talked about beef and your health and kind of in the misconception side, but on the positive side, can we reiterate what are the best things about beef?
Yeah, I mean, again, we use in the industry, and this really comes from our partners at NCBA, information on how beef is naturally nourishing and sustaining. And so looking at that, and nourishing meaning good for our body, things that we need more of, and sustaining meaning that it's providing things that are going to sustain us throughout the day. So that I'm in a protein. The one thing that we know right now is protein is such a trending topic, and protein is protein is added to so many different things now. So you can find protein chips. We've always had protein drinks. We've always had protein bars, right? But there is just a lot of information about protein. And rightfully so. When consumers are searching for things or searching, I think, for a solution, it's often in times to what can I eat that's going to help me to stay fuller longer? What's going to help me in, maintaining this muscle that I'm trying to gain? What is going to help me in maintaining my weight? And the answer for all of that is protein. And so beef, again, naturally nourishing and sustaining, providing in 3 ounces, which is really like the size of our palm, deck of cards, hockey puck, right? Like a very, very moderate size, providing that 25 grams of protein and all of those 9 other essential nutrients. And so that is definitely, the foundation of what I like to highlight in regards to beef. I also like to highlight just the versatility of it. I mean, there are so many different ways that you can prepare it, so many different things that you can pair it with. We know that consumers love the taste of beef. Consumers want to continue to consume beef, and we want to provide them with ways to be able to do that so that they live their best healthy life.
And that's why we have, recipes and tips on our social media and our website and all of that.
And, being able to utilize too, some of those underutilized cuts I think are really important, encouraging people to consider some of those when they go to the grocery store, but then also being confident in knowing how to cook them. And that's where our website comes in as such a benefit, because they are able to, search up anything, and also just different cooking methods. Not everybody has the same access to all of the tools, but maybe you only have a grill, and so you want to become a grill master and being able to go there, and but maybe you want to try something other than a steak. And so what other cuts of beef can you grill, and what recipes do you have, and how can you pair things differently? And we have so many wonderful resources as far as beef, featured with different vegetables and even fruit, which sometimes I have a hard time wrapping my head around because I don't always think of beef and fruit together. But some great recipes to kind of get you to think outside the box a little.
I don't think I cook without a recipe anymore. I just, especially if I'm trying something new, it feels safer, and now I know too that we have these resources. So speaking of recipes and creative things, our podcast is called Behind the Burger. What are some creative ways, or how can we enjoy a burger without the guilt?
So I think, again, there's a ton of opportunity. This was something that we featured a couple weeks ago at New Mexico State University. We brought in different fat content of beef. So we had a 93.7, we had a 90.10, and an 80.20, and really let them have a hands-on opportunity to just see the differences, what you needed to do different from a cooking technique. Of course, again, focusing on leaner cuts is going to allow you maybe to be a bit more creative with some of your toppings if you choose to want to do a higher fat topping. If you choose maybe a 90-10 or even an 80-20 for, your burger, then I would encourage you to really look at different, vegetables that you can include it there. But we know that the majority of Americans are getting the majority of their nutrients per day, either from sandwiches or burgers. So we have a wonderful opportunity to really encourage them to be mindful of what they're choosing in regards to, burgers. Again, there's always an opportunity, in everyone's diet for an occasional, maybe triple cheeseburger with, loaded fries. I don't disparage anybody's eating choices, but I also do want to encourage people, if they enjoy consuming a burger and want to consume it, more than a couple times a week, do look for maybe some leaner options. Pair it with, some different vegetables. Look for whole grain buns, maybe a lower fat cheese. But there are a lot of opportunities, to be able to build your burger to make it as nutritious as possible.
Absolutely. I think the other day I ordered a lettuce wrapped one. I happened to be at In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah.
I ordered the lettuce wrap, protein style, they called it, right?
Yeah.
And I felt good about myself. And then the next day I think I got the regular bun. But
it's all about moderation.
Absolutely. Kind of going back to you and what you're doing, what is maybe your favorite part of your job? And then kind of what makes you keep going, and why do you keep saying yes?
I think because of the fact that we do so many new and exciting things. There's so many opportunities that we have to continue to share the message about beef production and about beef nutrition. And I've just seen all of these new avenues for us to be able to utilize that, whether it be through social media or through different activations, like I'd previously mentioned, the New Mexico Activities Association, working with colleges. Also we had done some work with student athletes, both at UNM and New Mexico State University. So I think just having people be aware, consumers, medical professionals, aware of the resources that we have and the quality of resources that we have, and just that they can lean on us as a confident partner, in regards to all things beef.
I think it's really interesting too, the amount of science-based research we have that'll help, and the recipes and all of it. It's really neat that the full library we have, and
absolutely
it does get exciting, because how do we use that, right?
Yeah,
I'm still not sure. We have lots to go.
And I think I've been in the industry since 2018, really working as a dietitian in beef, And I am oftentimes approached by interns that were like, I had no idea that this was an opportunity, right? Like, how can I do this? And other commodities have dietitians as well. So, I work with fellow dietitians at dairy, really recognizing that we all kind of have the same challenges, the same myths that we need to debunk. And I just think that there is power in numbers and power in partnership. And so I always look forward to those opportunities to continue to partner with, other commodity groups and their dietitians and their health and wellness staff. Just again, to be able to share that message of where our food comes from, how much goes into the food production, and just the importance and having people be confident in our food system. We do have the safest, most abundant food system in the world. And sometimes, people get worried, and rightfully so. But if you've got questions, I encourage you, reach out to us. If we don't have the answer, we'd love to get you in touch with a producer. I mean, we have such a powerhouse board that represents every segment of the industry. So if we don't know it, we can guarantee that we know somebody who does.
And one of my favorite parts about our industry is that people will literally answer your call. If you have questions, we will literally answer your call and have a conversation with you.
Yes.
It's a very open industry. We really want to tell the story. We want you to be confident in your food choices. I'm really grateful that we do live in a world and a decade that we do have the option of food choice, and that's a really great opportunity and a really great blessing that we can make our own choices. So I'm always encouraging that people can make their choices, and anyone's welcome at my table if you're eating beef, if you're not eating beef.
Sure.
Which is I'm always nervous that that's controversial, but it's not, because I think you're always welcome at my table. You're welcome to make your own food choice, and I know my choice.
And I think that's one of the things that I do sometimes meet a bit of resistance from either nutrition majors or dietetic interns as far as not consuming beef. And, when I'm working with them, of course, I'm hoping that I'm encouraging them to, be open to maybe adding that into their diet. But what I really want to do is make sure that I am providing them a resource that they can then use with their patients. So in dietetics, as with any medical profession, we have an ethical responsibility to our clients and to our patients, and that is to make sure that we are putting our own personal biases aside and really focusing on what is credible, what is research backed, and so I just hope that I am able to provide them resources to be able to use with their patients so that they can continue to confidently recommend beef if that patient chooses to, right? So again, we all eat differently based on many different factors, and that's what makes us all great. And so it's not that I am expecting them to necessarily choose to eat differently, but I do want them to be open to the resources that I'm providing, and the quality of resources and the quality of research that we have, so that they can confidently recommend beef to those who want to eat it.
Absolutely. I think that's just such an important part of the industry on both sides of the beef industry and the health and wellness of all of that, to try and come together and say it's okay to make your own choices, and here's why I think you might want to consider this option.
And we know from consumer insights and trends that people enjoy eating beef.
Absolutely.
People are wanting to continue to eat beef. We know what people are looking for in beef, the concerns that they have. So I think we're really able to, direct some of our messaging and some of our information to address that. And I think from my perspective as a dietitian, being able to relate that to this audience. These are interns who have not worked in the field yet. So essentially, to kind of set that foundation, where, you are going to have people who want to eat beef. And I want to give you resources on being able to encourage them to do that. Of course, focusing on some of those leaner cuts, pairing with fruits and vegetables, all of that, just to make sure that it is well balanced and well rounded. But
I think you mentioned the interns again, and I just wanted to say, I think just like being a dietitian has a lot of opportunities, I think agriculture has a lot of opportunities.
Absolutely.
And I'm always telling people that you can work in agriculture and you can have these random jobs. You can, not random, sorry, I don't mean to be disparaging, but it's just crazy. Agriculture doesn't mean you have to be a farmer.
Oh,
Agriculture
absolutely.
doesn't mean you have to be a rancher or a cowboy or whatever. Agriculture means you could be a dietitian, you could be a food scientist,
Oh,
you could be a
absolutely.
meat scientist, you could do marketing, you could do, so many things. And so I think that's a great opportunity and a positive about both of our industries.
Absolutely.
So what is your favorite thing that New Mexico Beef Council is working on now? I know it's kind of self-serving because we work for the Beef Council. So maybe kind of brag on yourself or brag on what we're doing in a way. Just what's your favorite thing that's just making you excited right now?
Probably the sports nutrition game plan and just the opportunity with that. We're kind of looking at this year as an awareness campaign for schools to just, again, be aware of the type of resources that we have. I definitely can see this, growing into something that's very special. I just also think, the opportunities that we've had to get speakers at the New Mexico Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. We just had a session proposal submitted last week. So, just continuing to share our message, bringing really, really high quality, nationally known, medical professionals, so fellow dietitians, PhDs, to be able to share the story of beef and the importance of protein, for many different reasons, while we age or the needs of it as a high school athlete, and just all of the new opportunities, again, like I said, that we have had presented to us since you started.
Well, thank you. We're excited about all of that. Very excited about Sports Nutrition Game Plan. It is on our website as well, I believe.
Yes.
And so if you go to our website, nmbeef.com. So is there anything else that you'd like to add about nutrition or the beef industry, or even before that too? I had a question. So we talk about, healthy eating and healthy snacks. I think my biggest takeaway from the conversations that we've had and even listening to you speak and other dietitians speak is when I'm having my afternoon crash and I just want a candy bar and I'm grabbing beef jerky now. And it's just like a really easy, it's tasty, it's nutritious.
Convenient.
It's convenient and all of that. So I guess what's the easy takeaway? Is that a good takeaway?
Absolutely.
Am I doing the right thing?
Absolutely. And I think the other thing is making sure that we are consistently consuming protein throughout the day. And again, people will hear all different kinds of amounts based on lots of different things, but in general, to keep it easy, about 25 to 30 grams at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then looking for snacks that are going to provide, again, about 10 to 15 grams. Really, again, making sure that helps to stabilize your blood sugar. It's giving you those nutrients that you need to be sustained, throughout the day. I know that we all get busy. Before we know it, we'll be like, oh my gosh, it's 10 o'clock. So just being able to plan ahead, for those opportunities and for those times, making sure you're throwing in your bag or your backpack. We love to feature the beef jerky trail mix. That's a great combination of being able to utilize, kind of that sweet and savory combination, but utilizing beef jerky for the protein. And then, of course, just the importance of dried fruit, dried nuts, being able to maybe throw a little chocolate in there to make it even more enjoyable. But yeah, there's just, a plethora of research that shows the importance of eating protein consistently throughout the day. So again, 25 to 30 grams at every meal. 10 to 15 grams at each snack, making sure you're staying hydrated. I think that's the other thing. Wellness and well-being really, we have to take a holistic approach. So yes, what we eat plays a huge role, but it's also the amount of activity that we're getting, the quality of sleep that we're getting, making sure that we're having enjoyable outside activities other than just work, right? In America, we tend to just kind of be workaholics. And so I do think that there will be a lot more information even from the beef industry just on wellness and that whole holistic approach. So considering all of those factors to just make sure that we are our healthiest and at our best.
I can feel my wheels turning I know, I've been saying I was going to go on more walks or I was going to do that. I think this is a great conversation, and I feel really interested and energized when we have these kind of conversations because I think it's so important and then also so easy. You can have so many easy wins in some ways. Like it's difficult, and it is, but it's you give it to us in a way that.
And I think also just breaking it down. I think oftentimes when we want to make lifestyle changes, you feel like you need to do everything all at once, right? Like, oh my gosh, well, I need to clean out my pantry and get all this new food and, maybe join a gym and, all these things. And it's really like, what can you break down? And what are a couple of things that you can add in and do consistently and build on that from there. So I just always encourage, making sure you're drinking enough water, making sure you're staying hydrated, all of those things. So I don't ever want it to be overwhelming for people. I do want them to be able to find small things that they can do consistently and then build on that.
And that's such an important way to live life, is small wins, right?
Small wins.
Just, we can't do everything. The work will be there tomorrow. We can do better tomorrow. We can make better food choices tomorrow. Or I try and give myself grace. I think we're all hard on ourselves. So is there anything else you'd like to add? I know I took you on a different route, but anything else you'd like to add?
No, just a huge thank you, to you and the New Mexico Beef Council for seeing value in having a credentialed medical professional, and just allowing me the opportunity to be able to work with you and work on behalf of producers, engage and network with fellow medical professionals, and really just continue to tell the story of how, again, beef is so naturally nourishing, sustaining, and all of the care that goes into the final product.
Absolutely. We do value all of that. So, and then one last closing thought. Do you have a favorite recipe or a favorite cut or a favorite way to eat beef?
So, Caroline, I'm a big fan of crock pots. I think, as a busy working mom, if I can get a meal in a crock pot, that's a small win for me, right? If I can put a meal in the morning and have dinner ready at the end of the day, I love that. So Mississippi pot roast is a family favorite. I love to be able to make that and then utilize leftovers, throughout the week if there are any, because oftentimes, everybody loves it and it's gone. But yeah, for me, anything that I can do in a crock pot. My husband loves to grill, so I do kind of defer to him for that. But yeah, I'm a big fan of crock pot and the Mississippi pot roast. Perfect.
And that's on our website.
Yes.
I love that. And a crock pot is such a win because it's just done. I love knowing dinner is dinner. We have a plan.
I know.
I love having a plan because I rarely do. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Behind the Burger is a podcast produced by the New Mexico Beef Council with the goal of telling the stories of the cattlemen and cattlewomen of the New Mexico beef industry. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. If you would like more information, please visit nmbeef.com. Whether it be a burger, a steak, or another beef dish, we hope you are enjoying beef at your next meal.